Toby is a tram engine. He is short and sturdy. He has cow catchers and side plates and doesn't look like a steam engine at all. He takes trucks from farms and factories to the main line, and the big engines take them to London and elsewhere. His tram line runs along roads and through the fields and villages. Toby rings his bell cheerfully to everyone he meets. He's got a coach called Henrietta, who has seen better days. She complains because she has fewer passengers. Toby is attached to Henrietta and always takes her with him. She might be useful one day, he says. It's not fair at all, grumbles Henrietta as buses roar past full of passengers. She remembers that she used to be full of passengers and 9 trucks would rattle behind her. Now there are only 3 or 4, for the farms and factories send their goods mostly by lorry. Toby is always careful on the road. The cars and buses often have accidents. Toby hasn't had an accident for years, but the buses are crowded and Henrietta is empty. I can't understand it, said Toby the tram engine. People come to see Toby, but they come by a bus. They stare at him. He isn't isn't, they say and laugh. They make him very cross. One day, a car stopped close by, and a little boy jumped out. Come on, Bridget, he called to his sister, and together they ran across to Toby. 2 ladies and a stout gentleman followed. The gentleman looked important, but nice. The children ran back. Come on, grandfather, do look at this engine, and he's seizing his hands. They almost dragged him along. That's a tram engine, Stephen, said the stout gentleman. Is it electric? Asked Bridget. Whoosh! Hissed Toby crossly. Shh! Said her brother. You've offended him. But trams are electric, are they? They are mostly, but this is a steam tram, said the stout gentleman. May we go on it, grandfather, please? The guard began to blow his whistle. Stop, said the stout gentleman, and raised his hand. The guard surprised and opened his mouth, and the whistle fell out. Whilst he was picking it up, they all scrambled into Henrietta. Hip, hip, hooray, chanted Henrietta, and rattled happily behind. But Toby didn't sing. Electric indeed, he snorted. He was very hurt, but was proud to be a steam engine, though. The stout gentleman and his family got out of the junction, but waited for Toby to take them back to their car. See, poor Toby was hurt. What is your name? Asked the gentleman. Toby, sir. Thank you, Toby, for a very nice ride. Thank you, sir, said Toby politely. He felt much better now. This gentleman, he thought, is a gentleman who knows how to speak to engines. The children came every day for 2 weeks. Sometimes they rode with the guards, sometimes in empty trucks. And on the last day, all of the drivers invited him to his cab. All were sorry when they had to go away. Stephen and Bridget said thank you to Toby, his driver and fireman, and the guard. The scout gentleman gave them a present. Peep, 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 whistled Toby. Come again soon. We will, called the children, and they all waved until Toby was out of sight. Months passed, and Toby had few trucks and fewer passengers. Our last day, Toby, said his driver sadly one morning. The manager says we must close tomorrow. That day, Henrietta wanted more passengers than she could manage. They rode on the trucks and crowded in the brake van, and the guard hadn't had enough tickets to go around. The passengers joked and sang, but Toby and his driver wished they wouldn't. "Goodbye, Toby," said the passengers afterwards. "We are sorry your line is closing down." "So am I," said Toby sadly. The last passenger left the station, and Toby puffed slowly to his shed. "No one wants me," he thought, and went unhappily to sleep. The next morning, the shed was flung open, and he woke to start with his fireman dancing with a jig outside, his driver excited and waved a piece of paper. "Wake up, Toby," they shouted. "Listen to this. It's a letter from the Stout gentleman." Toby listened. But he'll know later on, because that's another story.